I like when you're a performer, you can call your personal flaws part of your aesthetic.
Yeah, it's part of my brand.
It's my style.
Yeah, you know.
That's what they tried to do with Jeffrey Tambor. They were like, well, you know, you wouldn't have gotten those great performances if you didn't act like a dick now and then.
Mm-hmm. Do you want a water as well? Didn't you mention that?
Coffee has water in it. I'm fine.
All right, cool.
Welcome to Frame Rate. Why don't we go around the horn and see who's here? Today we're seated around a horn for Frame Rate, the show where we rate frames.
We bought a podcast horn.
A casting horn.
A casting horn. I'm Abe Epperson. I'm one of your co-hosts.
Michael Swain. And joining us,
Tom Reimann.
Much to our delight. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Welcome back, or have you only done one-upsmanship?
I've only done one-upsmanship.
Okay.
And Tales from the Pit.
Tales, because I know we talked Last of Us.
We did.
But screw that.
Yeah.
This is Frame Rate, where we rate frames.
And today, the particular frames we rate are, let me load my notes. Well, it's Beetlejuice, which I already said it once, so we can only say it one more time in the course of the podcast.
Well, I think it doesn't, as long as there's words in between them, I think you're fine.
Oh,
like you have to do it 3 times in succession.
So Beetlejuice, motherfucking Beetlejuice would be like a fine rap hook.
I think so.
It wouldn't summon the demon.
So. Oh, hi, Beetlejuice.
Oh, shit. 1988, obviously a big movie in Tim Burton's career. We got Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin, Michael Keaton as the titular Beetlejuice, and Winona Ryder. Was this introducing Winona Ryder?
I don't know. I think it was her first big movie. I don't know if this was her first film.
Well, we're not sure.
Yeah.
But I assume we've all watched it growing up. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah.
That's actually where I was starting with. This is my first viewing of it.
Okay. This is a unique opportunity, I think.
You never saw Beetlejuice.
I never saw Beetlejuice, and it was just a pop culture blind spot because there's so many reasons why I would have.
Okay.
But for some reason, I never did.
Because I know you had TV blind spot because you didn't have TV, but you saw movies growing up, right?
Yeah.
Huh. Like your dad has one of the biggest theaters I've ever seen in a private home. Yeah.
Yeah. We're big film buffs.
Yeah.
The Eppersons.
So I think then we got to start with you. Like as a person who's never seen Beetlejuice before, synopsize, what is this movie about? Like elevator pitch me.
Right.
And thoughts. Who's someone who has no childhood baggage attached to this.
So the story goes that Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are madly in love and just very boring, and they die.
The end.
And then,
Pretty much.
Getting acclimated to death, the rules are that you can't leave the house, and if you do, you go to Saturn. Is that right?
Yeah, you get teleported to Saturn,
which has sandworms.
So here's the thing. I assume then that you've never seen the Beetlejuice cartoon show. Also,
no,
right?
I didn't even know that existed.
Tom,
a little bit, but I wasn't into it.
I just gotta give it a shout out because the thing that was great about the cartoon is it took place in almost entirely in the Netherrealm and completely built out the rules of the Netherrealm and the sandworms and how Beetlejuice functions and like how. In the Netherrealm, he's basically a hobo. Like, he's considered a hobo by their standards.
Got that.
He's like the Zoidberg of hell, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I got that part.
But in this, I was surprised how little you see it. You see a shot of where Beetlejuice lives, which is very unclear. Do you guys remember when he reads the newspaper? He's in like a cardboard box with coins scattered around.
Yeah. He's inside
that was
the
his
model.
House?
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the model.
He's in the model.
So we never see him at home.
No.
Okay. And then when we actually see the Netherrealm, as Abe alluded to, it's just some poorly green screened dunes, purple sky, and these sandworms that come out and eat you.
Well, you also see the Netherrealm as like that Brazil-esque, just really.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the word for it.
DMV might be what you're fishing for.
There's a waiting room.
Bureaucratic.
The bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy of being dead.
Yeah.
That sequence I thought actually was a sequence that still stands up really well.
I like it all. You
like it all, okay.
I didn't rewatch it for this podcast, but I've seen it so many times that I can recall most
I
of
liked it, and my big takeaway is Michael Keaton is so good in it.
So good.
Yeah, he's great.
So good.
Nice fucking model.
Yeah.
Like
that's where I learned the F word was this movie.
I remember that being one of the very first F-bombs I was ever allowed to hear.
Yeah.
My freaking ears.
For some reason, my parents were like, you should watch this movie. This came out when I was living in Germany still. So we didn't get too many movies. You had to order them by tape or whatever, and this is one of the ones we had on tape. For some reason, my mom and dad were like, "You kids will enjoy this." They were right. I don't understand why
they allowed it.
Like,
That's
such a.
because sorry, go ahead.
Oh, this is a movie that, I mean, we started with Abe trying to synopsize it. This is a movie that sort of defies classification. It's like, what the hell is this movie?
It's like it's a fun little romp that just dances around just nonsense, which is kind of my favorite version of Burton now.
Yeah, it's what I think Burton actually does well and are the most delightful Burton exercises. I totally agree, which is when I rented it on Amazon, having not seen it for like 10 years, but remembering it fondly, I didn't think anything of it being categorized as it's in the kids section. It's in the children's section of Amazon.
That's weird.
And I watched it and I'm like, yeah, I remember watching this when I was fairly young. And then some of the stuff that like shoving your hand through the back of your skull to make yourself a chicken face and your eyes are on your fingers.
Right.
I'm like, who sat around? How did he get away with this? And I think Nightmare Before Christmas obviously is the other everyone's favorite other Burton.
I also think it is,
and it's like, man, when he slips in children's stories that should not be allowed to be released, that's my favorite Burton.
Yeah.
I also think that this has more in common with Big Fish than feels like it, because it's like, it reads like a tall tale. It's just like a very sporadic and just, kind of improvisational story.
There is a lot of folklore to it.
Yeah.
It seems.
I think Fable's right. It totally seems like a fable.
Yeah.
I will say the reason I hinted at this, but I'll say it to you squarely now, my friend Tom.
Do it.
I didn't like it as much as I remembered as a kid.
Really?
And it's because I agree with Abe completely. First of all, I'm in love with Gina Davis, like forever in anything I see her in. Mm-hmm. But Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are the most boring characters in this. I enjoyed seeing Jeffrey Jones, the pedophile, sitting in his office doing bits more than they're like...
With this bird watching bit?
Yeah.
It's fucking funny and it shouldn't be.
It is.
It's just him watching
Why
birds.
is he married to this? Why is he
married to
How
Catherine
did this
O'Hara?
relationship
No
happen?
idea.
Also, Catherine O'Hara.
Oh, she's great.
You can't top the casting in this. But...
Robert Goulet.
Robert Goulet.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have enough jokes. And I forgot that like 75% of the time, you're with the identity characters who are just normal ghosts being bewildered. And then in the third act, they start to acclimate and be like, we can do ghost shit too and be ghosty. As a kid, I just remember, I'm like, don't they like ride sandworm? Like I mixed it up with Dune and stuff, I'm like,
She rides a sandworm at the end.
does she? Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, she does. But I remembered, I think, because of the cartoon, there being long sections of Beetlejuice showing how his world works and all this stuff.
He's barely in it.
No,
Then
it's not true.
Yeah.
And
I think you were putting the TV show.
it's weird
into
that it's called Beetlejuice, I realize in retrospect.
Right, because he's in the movie. We were talking about this before you showed up. He's in the movie for, I think, like 9 minutes.
Wow.
Like total screen time. He's barely in the film.
And did you notice that he is credited as the correct spelling of Beetlejuice, the star?
He appears in 17.5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so it's more than that.
But the movie's title is Beetlejuice, like the juice of a beetle. And I'm wondering, I wonder two things. I wonder, first of all, if they watched a screening of this movie at some point and went, well, we have to call it Beetlejuice because this minor Michael Keaton character just blew everyone out of the water.
Yeah.
And then I also wonder if they did the spelling that way because some executive was like, no one's going to know how to pronounce your movie.
I bet that's what it was.
Yeah.
Which sucks. But I like that they make a recurring
I think
joke where
it's-
Alec Baldwin can't pronounce it.
Nobody can pronounce it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also, that reminds me of one of my favorite jokes in the whole thing, which is when he's trying to get Winona Ryder to say
His name.
but he can't say it, which is stupid rules if he can
charades.
go. So he does the charades and he goes, look over there. And then
It's
it's
the big
just
beetle.
him as a beetle. Hey, how's it going?
And then he drinks a glass of orange juice. I
And
think.
then
He
yeah.
makes one. He just shows it in the air.
It's
Floating,
ghost.
yeah.
Yeah. but
Beetle drink. Beetle breakfast.
Beetle breakfast. Yeah.
I don't understand.
I just
your
love
sign.
someone who plays charades and he says, look over there.
Like,
and
okay,
it's him again.
At first,
but
he's
as
trying
a
to like
beetle.
mime turn around, and it's which. look over there.
Yeah.
Couldn't he have turned himself into a sign that reads the words "Say Beetlejuice"?
Right, yeah.
phonetically?
Like, it seems like it's so...
I don't know.
What are the rules here? Because the charades game is, like, already breaking the rules of charades.
A little bit. I
Say
think
my name 3 times to hire me. I'll do anything for your business. I'll chew on the dog.
I'll chew on...
That's got to be an ad lib, but I love in his cowboy commercial, he offers to chew on your dog if you need that done.
Yeah, and that ad on TV is one of the greatest. Just like that's where we truly get acclimated to him, because it's like the first time we see his face.
we see him, yeah.
Yeah, it's not over the shoulder shot.
He's not mysterious anymore.
Yeah, and it's just such a good way to get you to know what he's all about, and his like kind of slapstick, just randomness is just delightful.
Let's talk about that DMV sequence.
The first time they go there?
Yeah, I do think a lot of people remember that sequence. And I just loved, I guess, because of the level of practical effects in that sequence, just destroys me. And it struck me this time as like a Simpsons background, where I didn't realize you can tell exactly how every single person in the DMV died.
Yeah.
Including the, if you kill yourself, you have to work at the DMV. See, I thought she was like a fairy at first because her skin is blue.
Yeah, I thought she was just like a demon.
Like something incarnate from the, and the guy who got run over.
Guy that got run over, yep.
Such
Goes
a
in
great
that little
bit. Feel a little flat. Ah, ha, ha, ha.
And the shrunken head
yeah.
guy is one of my...
That
one,
bit is so
I think
good.
I've seen screenshots because...
Yeah.
I like saw it and I was like, this is where it's from.
Yes.
Because I've seen that. It's like, I don't know why.
What's surprising to me is how, as a kid, because I was a kid who worried about the afterlife and death, and I can't believe I wasn't terrified thinking of, like, this is one of the most awful afterlives depicted ever.
Yeah.
It's worse than most horror movies.
Yeah.
The original script was a horror film, wasn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's I read this fact doing research. Beetlejuice was a winged reptilian demon who transforms into a small Middle Eastern man to interact with the Maitlands and the Dietzes. Lydia was a minor character, and it just there's so much difference from the first draft to what this came up of or came into. That it's like almost they're in this, other than the idea that there's like a haunting involved with this guy called Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
well, I like,
and some names.
It seems like what they changed is you don't know he's the main villain. Like, it sounds like in the original script you knew he was the main villain the whole time because he's like a goddamn beetle monster.
Fucking dragon.
And I guess he's Middle Eastern, which in the 80s was code for we don't like this guy.
Right.
Right. Also, I want to point out that it included sequences where he mauls Kathy in the form of a rabbit squirrel, and he tries to rape Lydia.
Oh, shit.
So it was
okay,
like,
we got to take a break for no advertisement because I just got to take a shower. And then
yeah,
we'll be
right.
back.
It was not a comedy.
Who wrote it?
Not Tim Burton. I noted that in the credits.
The name of the person who did the story by and screenplay, there's multiple people, but the one that wrote the first draft was Michael McDowell, was the name of the writer.
Don't know him.
Yeah. As Stephen King said, quote, the finest writer of paperback originals in America today. So, and he's most well known for Beetlejuice. So.
Have you guys noticed that Stephen King any horror or sci-fi writer has a blurb on the back of their book where Stephen King says, they're the new me. This kid is the best. He's given that crown to many young
likes to
authors.
endorse that.
Yeah. So yeah, the original script was called House Ghosts. And
It's a terrible title.
one point, Tim Burton suggested the name Scared Sheetless and was horrified when the studio considered switching it to Scared Sheetless.
Scared sheep.
Scared sheep.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like Man Overboard.
Yeah.
Bad.
But yeah, I think all the movies that you would lump it in with from this era that are comedies of this genre don't have nearly as ambitious the practical effects, and that's what really gets me, especially the dance sequence that I think everyone remembers very
Harry
fondly.
Belafonte.
Well, that I realized this time also the opening sequence is Deo slowed down until it sounds creepy, which is genius. and they use at least 3 Harry Belafonte songs throughout. So I love it was both cost effective and gives this like sense of continuity.
Right.
Speaking of the music, goddamn
Elfman.
This is one of his best scores.
early stellar
very good.
Danny Elfman.
It's
yeah.
real good.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it's real
so
good.
It feels like Royal Tenenbaums, where a guy who's gonna have one particular style that overwhelms is working with all the people who totally get it, what he's doing. I felt like.
Yeah, no, there's such a strong collaboration between Burton
And Danny
Elfman.
Elfman.
They're
And
like perfectly
And his
suited.
art directors, like whoever's doing all the.
Yeah, because it's not Selleck at this point.
But like even, what's her name? Not Lydia, but Cynthia. Cynthia's freaky statues and stuff. There's just so much love put into the point where
Delia.
I'm sorry. You can tell that at one point, which he has, and which he would go on to do, that he's into stop motion, he's into claymation. I mean, the
there's a lot of that in
sandworms are
this.
straight up claymation.
Yeah, some of the sequences where they, like when he stretches his face out, the chicken face, and Gina Davis turns her face to a crocodile face. That's some stop motion. And yeah, the statues move in stop motion. I know he draws all this stuff beforehand.
Himself, Burton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can, if you read Burton on Burton, he includes a lot of his like pre-production sketches. And he sketched out that Beetlejuice when he shows up at the end and kills Robert Goulet. Mm-hmm. And he draws a little Jack Skellington on his hat.
Oh.
Because he had already created those characters at this point. So you can see that in the film, that in the finished film,
Jack Skellington.
he's got a Jack Skellington on
So
his head.
Beetlejuice himself is like a Hot Topic Tim Burton fan kid.
Yeah.
Who's like, I want a Jack Skellington hat. Nice.
Do you guys know why Beetlejuice is Beetlejuice? Is there
Okay,
lore?
you're getting close with you got an is in there, but be careful. Why?
I thought it was interesting. So it was going to be explained in the film that he hanged himself incompetently and very painfully due to heartbreak.
Weird.
That's a
Isn't
weird
that
direction to go with that
weird
character.
Thing? Yeah.
Because they indicate, like they meet their caseworker, Juno, and she's like, he used to be my assistant, but he's
Yeah.
like crazy. And then when you first see him, he's wearing like old-timey clothes,
Right.
and he looks like he died of a plague.
Well, Burton said when he
Or-
discussed it with Keaton and the costume designer, they said they wanted him to seem like he was from, you couldn't identify what time period he died in.
Yeah.
Which is also why they have him wear like a cowboy outfit
Yeah,
and a
he wears-
tux.
yeah.
You can never figure out like when did he die
Right.
and what did he die of. I
We
assumed,
shop at the same store.
Hey, we shop at the same store.
I assume, that's a great bit. I assume drowning because of his skin tone, but
Maybe.
but I think it's supposed to be unclear.
Right.
I also think that but like, he is a chameleon in terms of his clothes, and he's anything. But
and changes shape
his
physically.
normal,
yeah.
like when you think of normal
His Beetlejuice suit.
yeah, there's tones of like prisoners,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because the black and white, you know, like, which I thought was interesting, is that it's like he's in his own prison kind of thing, and that's what he chooses to wear.
God, what if there's like, I don't want this, but like a really humanizing prequel, like a Better Call Saul for Beetlejuice, where his heart gets slowly broken and he hangs himself and he wakes up and you realize, oh, he's been Beetlejuice the whole time.
Right.
This is the guy that's going to become Beetlejuice.
Yeah, they kind of did that, but they cut it out also because the reason it was going to pay off is that, and it is still in the film, Beetlejuice is very surprised when Lydia says she wants to kill herself. And they had more lines where to the effect of he's like, no, don't do that. That's a horrible thing to do.
Yeah, but he means because you'll be stuck working for Juno or someone like her, right?
Right. I mean, that's what we infer, but also
In this cut of the
in this
movie.
in this
That's
cut of
what
the
we
movie,
infer.
which makes sense still.
Yeah.
But I guess there's more like emotion and pain there originally.
Right, where he was like, you don't trust me, you don't want to go down that road. And
Right,
they're like,
which
don't
would've been-
humanize Beetlejuice.
But you know that Keaton would have made a meal of it. You know, he would be like, jokes. Sometime. It just makes you think.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go do this. You
I'm
know?
too old for this sound
Right.
coming out of this pipe.
Yeah.
Keaton forever.
Yeah.
Love Keaton.
Really
Wish we could
fucking
summon him
kill-
by saying his name
Right,
3
just say
times.
Keaton, and he would
Yeah.
show up.
Keaton.
Oh, Diane Keaton. Hi.
What do
I
you
would say that the remnants of both the proposed beetle monster rape and his broken heart are still paid off in the sense that
Yeah.
his goal is to marry a human woman.
Well, his goal is to get out, and he has to do that. To do that, he has to marry her for whatever reason. Those are the rules.
I just realized she's underage, and
She is
marrying her.
She's a teenager.
They don't say they have to consummate it with zombie sex for him to be free, but
No.
it's still not like a legal wedding.
It's also-
Can a dead guy marry underage kids in this state anymore?
I don't know. I don't know where this takes place. Upstate California.
just Michael Bay has some words with you.
yeah. Just go super close up with the Romeo and Juliet law.
It's
Michael
like,
Bay has some
if you're
sweet butt
deceased-
shots to
Here's-
weigh in on the situation.
Here's the thing that has struck me for a while, and I know it's not good, because she's underage, and he's kind of like pressuring her into doing it, but then sort of like he does everything he said he was going to do.
Right, yeah.
Like he doesn't renege on the deal or
Well,
like
they hired him to scare the humans away, which he tries to do.
he tries to do, and then
Best
they don't
he
do
can.
that,
He
and
becomes
then
a giant snake.
she's like, Lydia's like, if I let you out, will you help them? He's like, yeah, I'll help them, but you got to marry me so I get out of here. And she's like, all right, I'll do it. So he gets out and he fucking helps them like immediately. He's like, all right, you're good.
Now do what
Now it's time
we
for
said.
your part of the deal. And they screw Beetlejuice
they
over.
screw him over. Because he's
the bad guy.
He's
Yeah,
the bad
like,
guy. He's a
it's-
monster. He's
yeah.
He's trying to look up Gina
Forced marriage always
Davis's
gets
skirt all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, he's like,
creeping on this
what
teenage
about
girl.
you, like, and my teeth and the fact that I just have like oozing out of my body? It makes you think that I'm like a good guy,
Right.
Because you're so goddamn endearing.
Yeah.
But also, like, do they ever touch on why that's his situation?
No.
Because nowhere else in the movie does anyone have like a
Well, it's-
rule where they can get out of being dead if they do something.
I don't know. Abe mentioned, I mean, we both have talked about it actually, but like the sort of fable aspect of it where there's like fairy tale rules to it. He's got Rumpelstiltskin rules, and he's also got like the marriage rule, which is a pretty classic fairy tale rule. So
Beauty and the Beast rule, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
it's like fairy tale fable-ish kind of, it falls into that category.
It's inexplicable, but it's it's that reason for and always has been.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that did feel as an adult with shrewder senses, like the one cop out bit is the device of the book that everyone
the
who
handbook
reads
of the
it,
recently deceased.
the handbook for the recently deceased. It tells you what you're supposed to do and what all the rules of the fable are, but no one who reads it can understand it except Lydia occasionally. Whenever the plot needs us to know a new rule,
she's sad all
I
the
think because she's
time?
peers at death, because she's a goth kid.
Because she takes like photos.
I assume she was Tim Burton.
I find
Well, she didn't really understand the book.
Well, no, there
Otho's
is.
the one that steals it.
That's true. Otho steals it and is able to do things with it. But there's a part, the very first time they try to use the book, he goes like, get a load of this. Transubstantiation thermodynamically affects you in the negaverse.
manifestation
and
to
he's
manifestation.
Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And then later, Lydia opens it and immediately tells them we should do this next. And I forget the exact instance, but
I don't remember that
She only
part.
does that once. I made a note of it. I'll scroll and find it while other people are talking. But you're right. Otho, who's a great character in his own right.
Glenn Shadou, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Lydia,
Rest in paradise, Glenn
Delia's interior designer, who's here to remodel and
Right.
basically destroy and rebuild the home and
Has-
make it Art Deco.
Next to Beetlejuice, has the greatest character entrance in the film. He climbs into the window
Right.
for no reason. And
What
like
does he
brings
say?
the curtain down. I forget
It's
what
good luck.
Yeah. But it's just
He
this,
just brings the
because he's
curtain
this
down.
big man like, crawling through this
and
it's a
also
calamity.
for no reason,
Yeah.
like very well versed, more than most
In death.
in death
Yeah.
like rituals. Even though he's just like, oh no, I didn't know that this would happen. They're like, how do you undo it? But
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
when
He's like,
they-
I'm an interior designer. And
dying
they're
for a
like,
second
there's
time.
also ghosts here. And he's like, all right, here's what you do with
Yeah,
ghosts.
I'm,
Well, he's-
I'm
he-
one of the leading
he-
paranormal activity people.
I think I guess you're maybe supposed to get the impression that he's kind of like a hobbyist that dabbles in like
Right.
spiritualism just because it's vogue. Because he
Right.
the point is he winds up getting like 25% of the book right. like he does a certain thing, but he doesn't understand what it is, and he doesn't know how to stop what he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And the goal of the humans from New York City is it's basically Fairly Odd Parents' goal to prove that this
The ghosts are
supernatural
real, yeah.
things exist. So
Yeah.
you can build like an amusement park
amusement
here and
park,
rake in the
yeah.
dough.
And it also, I mean, you could also chalk it up to just the fact that he stole the book, but you kind of get the feeling that he knew more than he leads on before he even got the book in his
And
hand.
I don't know if that's a deleted scene or just the performance that the actor chose to turn in.
Yeah.
But I also was like, what is Otho up to?
Yeah.
What does Otho know?
I like that-
But it doesn't really go anywhere.
Otho's ultimate defeat is just Beetlejuice does finger guns
Oh my
at him,
God.
and he's in plaid or
Nope,
polyester.
he's in a powder blue tuxedo.
Yeah.
Which is a huge fashion faux pas. So like Beetlejuice
And
is
he
dispatching
screams.
the humans, and all this guy gets is, I can't be seen in this. I have to exit the film now.
Right. He
Yeah.
goes like, blam.
Yeah, it is weird that he decides to murder Robert Goulet and his wife.
Right.
But then just like
Throw him right through the
Through
ceiling.
Right
the
to the
roof with a
ceiling.
strength tester.
then he's just
yeah.
like, well, I'm just gonna tie up Jeffrey Jones and Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, I mean,
And
he
man,
doesn't
another
really
dose
have-
of too creepy for kids. The Alec and Gina, when they are rotting bridal
bad.
corpses, when they are corpse brides,
It's-
is rough.
It's
Yeah.
rough.
It's scary. Yeah.
And they like hold hands while they're disintegrating. It's
Yeah.
like, this is terrible.
Yeah. it was-
Here's a thought that I like at the beginning when. So I know that Lydia she's a good person because she cares about the Maitlands. She also becomes a victim later, but she is absolutely insufferable as a human being. And also her entrance is she is sitting on like a chair and is literally brought in by the movers.
Right.
Like this is the type of human
as
that is
privileged
just like
as possible.
carry me into the house.
Yep. And she's gothed out of her mind
And
too.
she's
wearing this
constant-
veil.
I feel like
And
in-
her poetry, or like her suicide note and her
Yeah.
like poetry, I'm so alone.
And then I am utterly like
yeah.
the fact that she revises it, like I appreciated that joke because it's a serious thing for a character to do.
Oh, absolutely.
But then they throw that in there. It's like, but she's also very theatrical and image
she's
conscious.
kind of her mother's daughter.
Yeah.
It's also realistic. Like
Sure.
I have written poems when I was really young that I took totally
Okay.
seriously about like how some chick broke my heart and like the world will never be the same because of it. And when you read them as an adult, you're like, this fucking idiot.
Jesus.
This
Yeah.
poem's so stupid.
Yeah. Let me change that verb real quick.
Exactly.
That's what will sell this poem.
But does she doesn't attempt. She just says she's
She
going to
says
kill
she's
herself.
going to, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
she
because
wants
she's
to be with
realized
them.
She wants to be a
because
ghost, yeah.
It's kind of a different situation. She's not just a depressed teen. She's a depressed teen who has proof that the afterlife is real.
Right.
That's
and
different.
like her
That is
ghost
true.
pals.
That is true.
And she has surrogate parents who are also ghosts, theoretically immortal then, who are
Right.
much better to her than her parents. So I think she just sees it as a lateral move. Like she'll live in the same house but have the
Yeah,
ghost parents.
well, I mean, they dissuade her by saying, like, look, it doesn't get any easier.
We need a ghost PSA campaign.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better.
No, it doesn't get better. As a ghost, you have to do the same
Yeah.
fucking bullshit, except now it's for eternity.
Yeah.
Like,
By the way,
And you can touch stuff sometimes but not other times. Casper rules. You're saying?
but Alec Baldwin doesn't like this movie, and he blames himself for it. He says he's very unhappy with his performance in this
I
movie.
think he's fine.
I thought he
He's
was fine too.
He's very un-Baldwin-y.
Yeah,
I think he doesn't like it because it's an outlier for him.
right.
Because like he plays the straightforward good guy who's like a doting husband, and I can't think of another role where he's
Right.
that.
He's
He's uncomplicated. Yeah.
he's not particularly assertive,
Yeah,
which is unusual for a
that's
Baldwin.
what I think it was.
He never drops into this register to say something.
No, it's a complete. You're right. It's very un-Baldwin.
Yeah,
Like he's a
and
completely different person.
This
in
is '88, so like he had like a action movie kind of time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say earlier is about 88 is I think a kid being overly privileged would be interpreted differently in 88. Like I'm thinking of like the kid from Blank Check and stuff. Like being rude to adults and adults having to work around you because you refuse to clean your room. It's supposed to make you extreme, right? And like cool, like edgy. I really think Lydia is supposed to be the hero or the person that we're worried the most about. Because, I mean, I assume like structurally, which makes sense, our real people we care the most about are dead already, so you need stakes.
But
so
you want the family, you want them to be a family in whatever way
like
they
she's
can be.
she's the first member of the family that you like, and then as the movie progresses, you see that like her stepmom and dad aren't really bad people; they're just kind of
insufferable.
Man, you know it's. But he didn't write the script, so I know this can't be like wildly intentional, but it's so interesting because she's the most Burton-y character, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you imagine...
She wears a funeral veil while writing a suicide note.
And I don't know enough about his childhood other than seeing his shorts like Vincent and Frankenweenie and stuff.
Right.
To know that he actually acted like this as a kid. But the guy you imagine making these movies, right, is a goth guy talking about death when he's 13, wearing a veil to
probably.
shit. Being
sketching
a
all this
weirdo
weird shit.
and taking pictures. So I'm like, if you think of her as a filmmaker, because she's walking around snapping pictures, it's the same metaphor as Edward Scissorhands, frankly, but it's like, that's Tim Burton. And he's saying, here I am in this perfect cookie cutter world where everything wants to be modern and they're renovating all this shit to just make it tacky. And I'm going to bring in Beetlejuice, literally this film, and bring the underworld into film.
And in a lot of ways, it has the same morbid quality that Edward Scissorhands in that regard, where it's like this fish out of water. This movie
and the world being like
makes the Art Deco stylists, they're the fish out of water. Everything else, they're the abnormal ones. In Edward Scissorhands, he's the abnormal one.
That's true. It's like there's a small sleepy town that's in a state of nature. City people are coming to try and ruin it and make it like cookie cutter Hollywood. And he's going to say, no, I invoke Beetlejuice to prevent this movie from being normal.
Yeah.
Which is I like that works.
By the way, I was so happy. I mean, Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice.
He needed more time on screen, man.
He is Beetlejuice. There's no one who would ever be better than him, I don't think.
Here come alternative
But
casting.
here are the alternative, and it's one of the best lists for this character I've ever... Like, when we do this from time to time...
Like, who was considered,
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
Okay.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Tim Curry.
Yeah.
This is the outlier, but I love both of these two. Jack Nicholson and Bill Murray.
Actually, Jack Nicholson's the only one I immediately thought will be on the list when you said there's a list. Yeah.
I think that they would do something very different, and I think the first four would do something very similar to what Keaton did.
Christopher Lloyd would probably land in a very similar place to where Keaton
Oh, yeah,
landed,
and Robin Williams, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He'd just be all over the place.
But the ad-libs, because Keaton ad-libbed most of his stuff, the ad-libs, I've heard so many Robin Williams ad-libs.
It would be too much.
That you can start to tell this is particularly a Robin Williams ad-lib, and that gets on my nerves.
Yeah.
Right. I don't
That's
think
true.
doing a lot of voices and stuff is really fits Beetlejuice.
I'm also a huge Keaton, just like
proponent. Beetlejuice needs to be kind of sinister.
Right.
And it's hard to view Robin Williams as sinister, particularly when he's doing his manic beat.
I do like Tim Curry, too.
Yeah,
Curry would be
of
good,
course.
yeah.
Who's last on the list?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Oh, well, yeah.
Just because,
He
he'd
could've done
make a
great
meal
job.
out of it.
Yeah,
So would
totally.
Nicholson.
Yeah.
Do something a little different, but it would be a lot of fun.
I could see Nicholson from The Departed. Wow, actually now I want to see Beetlejuice put into The Departed as like blowing cocaine on hookers and saying, I've seen The Exorcist 160 times and it gets funnier every time.
And it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
And then at the last shot where the rat walks over the thing, he just grabs the rat and
Eats
eats
it.
it.
Yeah. Okay,
the scene-
Departed Beetlejuice mashup.
The scene where
coming
he
soon.
lures the fly in with a Zagnut bar, that used to like disturb me as a kid.
Because
Right.
of the concept of eating a giant fly.
I think because it screams "Help me," which is a joke on the
The
fly.
Fly, the original.
But I
yeah.
didn't know that at the time.
But you're like, why did they have to give the fly human feelings?
Yeah.
Right, as it
Right.
gets devoured
And then-
alive.
Yeah, and then he belches.
To me, because everything's out of scale. The Zagnut bar is about the same size as the fly, which makes no
Right.
sense.
Right.
Right.
with his tiny little hand.
Imagining, I couldn't help but imagine, okay, I'm the size of tiny Beetlejuice, biting into a fly like eyeball. Just how much fly eye goo filling your mouth.
Oh, it'd be everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he, like, his
And he loves
stomach
it.
doesn't have, like, his hand is just a tiny little hand.
That's what I mean, yeah.
So he can't consume an entire fly, but these are different rules.
I mean, he's a ghost.
Abe is our resident guy who actually makes films. I want to ask what you thought of that opening oneer.
Oh, that was very good.
Right?
That was very good. I thought that there's got to be a passing off of the Steadicam at one point.
You mean passing hands? Because what we're talking about
it turns into the miniatures.
It's a oneer of the town that you eventually realize is a oneer of the miniature of the town that the guy is building in the attic.
I wonder how they did it, but I think it might be as simple as like pivoting in the model in front of camera.
As it comes through a window or something?
Because I could not see... Like, in 1988, I could not see the fade, which is such a hard thing in 1998 to not do. 88, to get away with. They just made it very simple.
Like to slip a cut in is tough in 88.
So I wonder how they did it. They could have also animated something in between that was like an amorphous in between thing, but it looked really good.
I just gotta say, movie currently out, you're gonna see in a couple hours now. No spoilers, no alert required. Hereditary. I could not stop thinking about Beetlejuice.
Really?
It's got a handbook for the dead in it. It's got other elements, and that's all I'll say.
That's funny.
But if you go in thinking about Beetlejuice, and you've seen in the trailer, she builds miniatures. The main lady, like that's her hobby.
She builds dollhouses. Yeah.
There's like at least 4 other points of contact where I was like, oh, this is Beetlejuice if it were actually going as hard as it could to be scary, which is odd because it turns out Beetlejuice was originally that at one point.
What's your favorite scene in the movie, Tom? Or do you have one?
Man. I mean, the dance scene is great.
Meaning the final scene?
No, the
Calypso dance with the shrimp cocktails.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, that and like when they first come down and meet Beetlejuice in the model.
That shit is amazing. It's one of the best, because the first thing he says he lifts out of the ground. Yeah. And his first line that he actually speaks to them is, "Ah!" It's just a great...
It's not so really good. A line, but...
kind of, yeah, but he doesn't talk for a little bit. He just kind of floats.
I like that Burton might have been like, and then, ad-lib something, say hi. Does it have to be a word? You could just make a noise. All right, I got it. Roll.
It's just a very good I can't do it justice.
Another thing about the cartoon is he's totally not sinister and has no intentions for Lydia, which I think they had to change. Yeah. Like, he's like her best pal. Like, they're high school friends.
I'm not into that.
Oh, it's such a good show, though.
Yeah, it makes him because he's got to be salacious. He's got to be this guy who's real bad all the time. Yeah. For this to work, because he's like a bottom feeder. Right.
What's your favorite scene, Abe? Or sequence?
They just have a small little subtle arc with Catherine O'Hara, how bad she is to like her help, like the movers. Right. And then just the entire construction crew just like fucking over her sculptures and acting like everything's fine, and they almost murder her. Yeah, physically. And it's like,
and they almost kill them both. Like he's in the kitchen and it comes through the window.
Yeah,
like
they're just so bad at their
terrible
job.
Movers.
No, they're not terrible movers. They just hate them so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if it justifies attempted homicide by a statue. Yeah,
but like all of them immediately know at the same time. So we're gonna kill these people, right?
Oh man,
good scene.
It's just I was laughing out loud on that.
All the underworld stuff is good. The football team made me laugh a lot.
Did you? I like
they keep calling her coach,
and they're credited.
Yeah,
as
that's right.
Dumb football player, dumb football player, dumb football player, and very dumb football player in the credits.
Perfect.
Yeah,
is the very dumb football player.
Probably
the one at the end.
Probably the one that interacts with the coach.
I thought it would be the one at the end who says like, "I think we died.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't think we survived that crash,
Like, he
guys.
still
I don't
isn't
think we
seen-
survived that crash.
So
Gee,
he-
what gave it away?
so dumb that he thinks that this is his coach now,
Yeah.
and he doesn't think about
Very
it.
similar to my favorite joke in all of Futurama is when Fry wakes up after some time travel and being unconscious, and he says, "Hey, robot, what year is it?" 3000. It's like he's a robot. That's
Yeah.
your confirmation.
Yeah.
Because he knew he was either in 2000 or 3000.
Right.
And he asked the robot. Anyway, it's funnier in the
great.
episode.
No, it's good. That's a really
The,
solid joke.
The shrunken head bit at the very end when Beetlejuice gets his head shrunk I really enjoy that because it's all Keaton's performance. It's
Right.
because his trick, I'm doing air quotes, is so bad and obvious. Like
Right.
he just drops his huge number.
The best part is putting his own number in the guy's hand.
He just drops it on his hand.
Like
Just a loose piece of paper
very
flutters down.
bad at hoodwinking people.
Yeah.
He's just a very effective
He's
ghost.
very shitty at it.
Also, is it just me or when he shows how to be scary to the Maitlands?
And spider legs come out of his face, but you can't see
The
what he
tentacles
right?
and
did.
shit.
Did you not think of UHF?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not till you mention it, but that same joke happens.
It's the same joke with licking on their back, and you just see a bunch of nonsense
Coming out of his face, and they freak out. Yeah.
Although they do in UHF turn around and you see that he's an alien.
yeah.
But I just
It's also
I was
kind
like,
of the large Marge joke from Pee-wee.
that's true.
We should cover both of those at some point.
Right.
Speaking of adjacent films, because this film has such a unique tone and vibe, I wanted to just do a couple like, have you seen them? First of all, I don't know if Tom feels this way. I know Abe and I, if you tracked how much we like Burton, like a lot of people, it's slacked off lately. Do you
Yeah.
feel the same?
I do, yeah.
And I think it is what we
Yeah.
were talking about at the beginning, where it's like he's no longer trying to be subversive. Like the Alice in Wonderland movies are nail the same tone and look, but then when you go and see them, they really could be classified as children's movies. Nothing edgy happens in them that makes me scared for my children to see it. And I don't know if that's bad, but I liked Burton when it was like, whoa, this is a kid's movie?
When his movies were challenging.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
Beetlejuice is hard to classify, Pee-wee's hard to classify, Edward Scissorhands hard to classify. Like all of his like great movies, like the first two Batman movies.
Yeah. Mars Attacks.
Mars
which
Attacks.
So hard to classify, we always forget it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed Wood.
That's a great
Yeah.
one. I
Ed
always
Wood's a
forget that.
great film.
I think actually that point was made by a friend of the channel, Maggie Mayfish.
Oh, yeah? On a podcast?
Yeah, the subversive quality of Burton, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
I
that
think
it's
she-
tapered off.
So yeah. Well, yeah.
Specifically.
But just a shout out to her.
But so
go
from-
watch that video.
Yeah, for sure. And going earlier in his career, I just wanted to like shout out some obscure stuff. Not obscure at this point because he's so fucking famous, but I'm sure you guys have probably read The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy.
I'm aware of it. I haven't read it.
I have not.
It's a book of creepy fables, handwritten and drawn by Tim Burton, and they are really disturbing and short and fun to read.
Oh,
And
that's
the
cool.
illustrations are awesome, very evocative. And then the short Vincent, which we already mentioned, is great.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, his student film, which you can find on YouTube.
It's an extra on one of the DVDs too. I feel
Cool.
like Nightmare Before Christmas or something.
Nice. And he wrote to Vincent Price and asked him, would you please do the voiceover? And he did it. So it's Vincent Price doing the narration. It's really cool. And that was his student film. And then this is an adjacent guy, but who's the guy we always mention in connection with him?
Henry
Sorry.
Selick.
Selick, yeah. Have you seen Slow Bob in the Lower Dimensions?
No.
Selick's first major stop motion short?
I've heard of it. But
No,
haven't
but
seen it.
I was listening to the episode where you mentioned it.
It's fucking weird. So I mention it whenever we cover something weird, but everyone should check that out on YouTube.
Slow Bob.
Slow Bob in the Lower Dimensions, and it's by Henry Selick, who did all stop motion on James and the Giant Peach and Nightmare Before
Yeah,
Christmas.
that's right.
It's like his student thesis film, and it's
I have
fucking
heard of
bizarre.
Monkey Bone.
I had a.
Well,
but I
th-
thought for a second I was like, maybe I haven't heard of that.
Oh, and
but
Monkey
no,
Bone.
no.
I'll tell you who gave me the Monkey Bone vibe was the priest that's going to marry them.
That
He
guy's,
looked-
I fucking love that guy.
And I know these are all.
Doesn't he to disappear? Does he just
He's
disappear, or does he
in
start
fire.
on fire? Yeah,
like-
there's like a fire.
I like that he looks like once he kind of has the air like he knows this isn't super cool. Like he's like, I feel like there's a weird vibe in this room, but I got to get this wedding over with. Like,
And doesn't Beetlejuice do the bit at one point where he's like, just skip that? Like, it's
Yeah.
Then
And he answers
what's
for
required
her.
just
for this marriage
yes,
to
I
be
love this
official?
man of mine.
Right. So I don't understand the ghost rules of what counts as a marriage. Could he have dressed up a cactus in a dress and made it?
He
marry
pulls
him?
out the
And just pantomime.
finger. He's like, "Don't worry, she meant nothing to me."
Oh yeah. The wedding ring he produces is on a corpse's finger.
Yeah,
of course,
it's
that's
so
great.
Fucking
good.
delightful.
I also want to. So there's a throwaway line in this movie that I hope you guys remember because it makes no sense as to why they, other than just joke reasons, and it's one of my favorite things in the movie, which is at one point Alec Baldwin mentions that he has a photo of Bigfoot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I want to see that.
I want to see his photo of Bigfoot. Yeah.
Like, how did you get that, Alec
'Cause
Baldwin?
He's also very skeptical about the afterlife and magic existing, so he seemed like a down-to-earth guy before he died. So maybe he really has a real photo.
I think
of it.
it's
Yeah, he has like an actual photo of Bigfoot.
Hasn't done anything with it. Yeah.
The context is yes, he absolutely does.
That was something that always stuck in my mind. This is something I want to get out real quick. Is how hard he knocks on that brick wall
Yeah.
when he draws the door.
Oh yeah.
Like he really fucking hammers that brick wall. And ever since the first time I saw it as a kid until now, like every time I watch it,
Made your
I'm like,
knuckles
God
flinch.
Damn, he's really.
It's because I think
He's
knew
letting it have it.
It was made of something else.
Yeah,
you know?
probably.
Well, now the Deadpool 2's done the joke where landing on your knee as a superhero really hurts. I can't unsee that every Marvel movie where people land on, like when Black Widow lands
Yeah,
in superhero
superhero
pose,
pose.
you're like, her knee would be shattered.
Yeah.
Like she wouldn't be able to.
She doesn't even have superpowers.
She's not playing soccer again.
Right, right.
All right. Well, I have a wrap-up question, unless there's amazing stuff to bring to the fore before that,
Oh, let's go ahead.
which is, I'm very antithetical to reboots. This is a movie I would be happy to see rebooted, and I think it's been long enough. Ideally with Keaton still. I don't know, but like
wow.
I could see a new one.
No.
Tom's a no.
No,
Abe?
no.
I would try to give it to someone else, but I am struggling to think of who that would be.
Aronofsky's Beetlejuice.
No, I mean as the performer.
Oh, I see. I wouldn't want to give it to Tim Burton, but I don't know who could replace him.
Right.
So that's tough, too.
So if
Yeah.
you told me one that I was, because hypothetically I like, it's such a bombastic world that in the same way that you just mentioned Deadpool, like it could be rebooted just because it's just a series of nonsense anyway. So there's no like story or like justice that happens
Right.
in the movie. It's just a series of jokes.
Well, other
in
than a
this
sad
world.
girl with crappy parents finds nice
Right.
parents. Who
But
are
I mean,
bad.
the most reason
Weird movie.
the reason I like this movie is that it's just wall to wall. Just I could see the character more Beetlejuice. You know.
Also, I just realized the end scene implies. I don't understand the rules. It doesn't matter. Because why are the football players now trapped in their house? And if they leave, they'll be in the netherworld.
I don't know
Yeah,
why
that's
are they
right.
why are they trapped in their house.
Why are the
They
football players there?
Why are the Maitlands there?
And
They didn't
still,
die in the house.
They didn't die in that house either.
They should be haunting that fucking covered bridge.
Right.
They should haunt that goddamn dog.
That dog is the villain of the movie.
Yeah, it is.
Just jumps right off.
If
of
you
that.
don't remember, because it is like a thrown away detail, they would not have drowned except this dog maliciously, knowingly steps off a wooden plank and lets them
Well,
plummet into the
it
water.
causes the accident and
Yeah.
then steps off the plank that's keeping them
Right.
Like, bye,
supported.
bye.
Yeah.
yeah, just like
No, I think this it's the same reason I reacted poorly to the idea of a RoboCop reboot is that I feel like this movie is very much of its time. So I don't know
That's
if you
fair.
could. I don't see the point of doing it again, other than I would love to see more of this character.
I was going
Right.
to say, then I guess what I want is for some old reels to surface of Michael Keaton just ad-libbing as Beetlejuice and a screen test for several hours.
Sure,
That's what I want.
sure, I can get into that.
yeah. Let's find that.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
Make that thing be real.
Everyone, if you find any heretofore undiscovered footage of Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, you know where to send it. That's all for this episode of Frame Rate. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
Hey everyone, this is Abe. For some reason, we didn't ask Tom to plug himself this episode. Either we were enamored with the fact that we had Tom over, or we're just bad at our jobs sometimes. I don't know. You can find Tom on Twitter at StartTheMachine, or on his joint venture with David Christopher Bell at patreon.com/gamefully_unemployed. A name here at Small Beans we're very envious of. It's just a great name and channel. They talk about movies and video games, and they deserve your love.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the Small Beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!